Guess what? It's the Renault Duster. Popular, been around for a long time, and there are a few signs you can see it's been around for a long time. But then again, when cars are around for a long time, there's often a good reason for it. This is of the recent, can we call it minor facelift, the Intens top spec model, top of the range. How can I tell you that? Well, you've got the chrome over here under the grille, and you've got the skid plate and coming into the bumper that is in grey silver chrome color as well. That tells you it's Intens. On other models it's body color. It's little things like that that differentiate the Intens. You've got the fog lights as well over there. These are little extra features, shall we simply call them. Nice mag wheels, of course, 17 inches. And of course, what is important on this car is, notice, well, you've got this slightly darker trim around the wheel arch. Interesting, no cladding around the arch. But then you've got body cladding in various other places to accentuate the crossover SUV look that, of course, everybody wants and is so popular these days. Interesting, amazing, but that's what everybody wants. Intens upgrades you to the silver mirrors and silver roof racks. Again, it's up to you kind of situation and feature, but it does make the car look pretty neat, pretty nice. This very dark colored car works well in my book, and it looks very neat. Let's pop open the back door over here. Driver's seat, as always, is set for myself. Decent legroom in the back. I'm not going to say it's massive, but of course what is important is, let me just jump in for you because I think it'll show it even better, is masses of headroom. Far more, again, than in many competitors in this category. And that's the kind of feature you want to know about and want to think about. So just always keep in mind. You'll notice cloth trim is standard on the Duster range, even on the range topper. Interestingly, it is listed as an option that you can option leather if you want. Probably around the 10 to 15,000 Rand mark if you want to upgrade to that. But nice contrasting stitching on the cloth over here. And yes, you've got Isofix on the back seat, on the two outer back seats. So for two kiddies, no problem whatsoever. Let's move round, of course. Nice little extra window in, shall we call it, the C-pillar over here, just to give you, of course, that extra light in the vehicle. Come round to the back. Again, the skid plate, shall we call it, bumper section in silver tells you it's Intens. The last facelift brought you these much larger rear tail lights and almost the X effect. That could be a slight crib on someone else, but we won't mention who right now. Pop open the boot and you'll notice how deep that way the boot is. It's a pretty big boot. You've got well over 400 litres of boot space on here. And again, this is a gain on many other competitors in the same market segment. So these are features you want to look at and important to you. Your spare wheel being underneath the car over there. And yeah, I can't say I like that feature, but what it does do, of course, is does mean you don't have a spare wheel encroaching on boot space, which would have, of course, lifted the boot board much higher. It's a give and take. You either like it or you don't. That's where Renault have put it. As long as it's got a good lock over there, because, of course, we are in South Africa, and you never know what can happen when your spare wheel is kind of accessible. Duster range, interestingly, there used to be different versions. They have condensed the range down to only 4 models now, all powered by that so well-known, been around for a long time, but that's not a negative, 1.5 litre diesel engine that they share with the Renault Nissan Alliance. And that is an efficient engine if ever there was one. 1.5 litre diesel puts out 80 kilowatts, 250 Newton meters of torque. And that's what you notice and what you can feel on the road, because it does give you lovely cruising ability. and good overtaking when you want it. You get either manual, or we're in the 6-speed dual clutch, what Renault called EDC, automatic gearbox. Used to be criticized lots in the earlier days a few years ago. I find no fault. It's not a racing car, it's not a sports car, doesn't pretend to be. It just gives you lovely, easy driving, whether it's in traffic or whether it's cruising out in the country like we are today. So the choice, as always, well, you've got to think about it. The world says diesel is dirty. I say it's still efficient. Your choice. Leaving Cullinan right now, we can see beautiful in the countryside, and this is what Motor Matters road trips are all about, is getting out. And yet, of course, we had to hit a bit of rain. Just the way it is, but so what? Wipers work nicely so far. No auto wipers or auto on headlights, but again, you've got to accept the market category of this car. Now, we are in a bit of traffic, and I've got to watch speed limits, you can see over there, but I think you can notice the ride is pretty smooth, it's pretty comfortable. The gearbox, you just don't even know when you're shifting and when you're not shifting. You don't even have a clue. I could go into manual mode for a second or two if you want and show you what it really does feel like. Let's do that quickly now. And we're in manual mode, and I'm in 5th gear at the moment. On a steep downhill, you can see quite sharp bends, but it handles the road. Again, I'm not exactly driving very fast, so who cares? Let's just kick it down a gear and you'll feel. And you see, I kicked it down to 4th. You didn't even know I'd done it, did you? That's how easy and smooth it is, and comfortable it is, etc., etc. Let's see when we do a manual shift up to 5th again in a moment. Okay, we can't yet because the traffic in front is driving very cautiously on a twisty sort of piece of road, but we'll give it a couple of moments. Or let's see, a shift down to 3rd quickly, and there again, you didn't even notice. You hear the revs pop up slightly. But also important in the car is the fact that it may be a diesel, but let's just rev it up slightly. Okay, you hear it now. Shift to 4th. There you go. You didn't feel it, did you? You heard the rev slightly, but that was all you heard. Tap it again. We're in 5th. But I am just playing with the gearbox a bit over here to show you it is a relatively smooth, easy, comfortable gearbox. And of course, that's when you want to be in manual mode, as I guarantee you Leadfoot would have been doing plenty while he was driving it. And it shows in his fuel consumption. We all know that. Okay, we've hit a very rough section of tar now. There is a bit of road rumble. You can hear it. The tires are giving a bit of rumble, but I don't think it's unreasonable. And I can tell you now, I've done this route many times before, and you would get that in most cars. So it's certainly not a criticism of any sort. There's those little rumble strips as well. You hear it takes it easily and smoothly. Just overall, I've got to say, this is a fairly comfortable, smooth, easy car to drive. The automatic version really does make life very easy and very comfortable indeed. I've just clipped it up to 5th, and something I just noticed, actually, I won't be able to show you on the camera right now, but in actual fact, when you're in manual mode and it's showing you on the dash, it does actually have a little plus that comes up as a shift indicator that you get on many cars. It even gives you that if you are in manual mode and you want to be told what to do and when to do it, it does that for you as well. Of course, if you don't want to ignore it, you can just carry on and ignore. But I've got to say, I'm relaxed, I'm comfortable. It is a Motor Matters road trip on a Sunday afternoon, and this is really quite an ideal partner for the exercise. Starting off inside the car, as we always do at the instrumentation. Well, it's basic. I've got to call it that. But it tells you what you need. I mean, we're looking now. You've got your speedometer, you've got your tachometer, your rev counter, and you've got fuel. So there you go. Then you've got the trip meter above. Now, what I want to show you is, so far we've done 478 kilometers on this test. And if I just scroll a little bit, look at that, 5.6 liters per 100. Average for the test so far. And don't forget, Leadfoot got his hands on this one for a couple of days and did about 200 kilometers of this range as well. I won't tell you what the reading was before and after Leadfoot got hold of it. It did change, that's all I'll tell you, okay? But let's not make him feel too bad right now. You've got, of course, on the steering wheel, you've got your controls for your up and down. That's to scroll through as I showed you. And then you've got for voice command for your phone, for example, over there. And you've got some of your cruise control buttons over there. But strangely, you actually switch on the cruise control down here just below the gear lever, which is a bit of a weird one. But anyway, let's just not discuss that right now. Then I've got to say one of my picky points on Renault. You're still using that additional stalk over here, this fat chubby one, for your infotainment, for your sound system, for your source, as you see, etc., etc. I just don't quite get it, Renault. I really think it's time you updated that and put that on the steering wheel like everybody else in the world. But anyhow, you've got over here a feature, which I'll tell you now quickly, of the Intens, is the fact that you do have blind spot warning that of course shows in the mirror over there. You can't see it now obviously, but you can turn it on or off if you really want. Don't know why you would turn it off, but if you do want to, that is your choice. You've got, of course, just everything standard over here. You can see it's very neat, it's very well done. But what one's got to understand, the roots of the Duster are from the Romanian company Dacia, or Dacia, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, which means a lot of plastic, a lot of cheapish sounding plastic, and very little soft touch anywhere on the interior. So keep that in mind. You've got these nice air vents. The aircon works pretty well. You've also got an interesting shelf over here with a nice ribbed effect over there, so you can place a phone and hopefully it won't slide around too much if you do. So you've got features like that, pretty neat, pretty comfortable. But the entire Duster car, true to its roots, is what I would call roughy-tufty. And what I mean by that is they've added a lot of features, especially to the Intens version. But at the same time, you've got to look at the roots of where it comes from. And you've got to say, this is the kind of car that says, bring it on. I'm not scared. You want to drive on a bit of dirt, do it. You want to take it a little bit where you would reconsider with many other cars, do it. Because I'll do it for you. Don't stress about it. And that's the vibe and the impression the Duster has always given me. It's kind of rough and ready, but endearing at the same time in a different way. So keep that in mind. Let's have a look, of course, on Intens now. You've got a nice upgraded infotainment screen over here that gives you everything. And for a change, thank you very much, Renault, you do actually have standard nav without having to use Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, which are both available on this car. So I do appreciate that. Then, of course, click the gear lever and you've got your camera. And what I do like over here as well is, watch this for a moment, and we're going to just do something, is when I pull away, it switches to a front camera. And there you go, and we get the front camera view for a few moments. So there you go, it's a nice extra feature. And you can, of course, oh wait, let's just go back there quickly. Why has it gone away? Of course it would do, just because I'm trying to show you something. So let's just go backwards for a moment again, because look here, you also have the feature of switching to the front camera, or side, or other side. Now that's a feature you would not expect on a car in this range and category, would you? So that is really pretty nice, and I think a nice extra feature on this car that you do get. Beyond that, it's got everything, as I said, on the touch screen that you can possibly want as soon as it drops the camera and goes back to home for me. But of course it's now going to just disagree with me for a moment, so let's leave it. You come down, you do have an eco mode. Quite honestly, when you're getting fuel consumption like this, I can't see why you'd be bothered. And you do have auto locking on pull off, thank you for that. Down over here below, you've got your climate control, air conditioning, again, as I said, pretty effective. And below that, look there, you do have a 12 volt and 2 USBs. Now, interesting, I noticed this on another test car recently. You have one for charging and one for connectivity. So just keep that in mind and remember which one you're using. Over here, you've got your cell phone. Over there, so you can place it over there. Interesting, there's a cup holder in there as well, so it's a bit confusing. But anyway, mentioned the 6-speed EDC dual clutch automatic. I find it easy, comfortable, smooth, no problem. And you do have a manual override mode if you really want, and I can guarantee you Leadfoot was playing with that during the test. There's no doubt he would have been using that and fiddling with that mode along the way. You've got, I'm not sure what that's actually there for. I think it's actually for the 4x4 switch in the manual 4x4 version of the Duster that is available. And then I want to show you my other real gripe about the Duster, and in fact most Renaults. This is the key. It's this funny shaped, they called it a card key originally, and in fact certain of the Renault models, I'm going back a number of years, you actually had to slide it into a slot on the dashboard. You didn't have the push button start. You slid it into a little slot on the dash, and that was how you then started the car. Interesting. So they have progressed, but I still think if you look at modern keys today, this one just doesn't quite fit the bill, does it? It's clumsy. But anyway, I am griping about fairly minor points, and I'll be quite honest and fair about that. Another feature, if you want to call it, of the Intens model is the armrest for the driver's seat. You either like it, you don't. It depends on your physical stature, I suppose, whether it's going to get in your way or whether it's convenient and comfortable or not. It also is a little bit in the way of operating the good old manual handbrake and not the electronic parking brake that you get on so many cars these days. But again, is that a hardship? I don't think so. Interesting little feature I picked up on the car when I was just messing around is, I hope the camera is picking this up, there's an extra piece of fabric attached to the side of the seat to the center console. How many times have you dropped a pen or a key or something small down the side of your seat, maybe fell out of your pocket while you're driving, or when you're trying to get to your wallet to get your driver's license at every second security stop or roadblock? Well, that could just catch it, instead of struggling to dig it out between the rails for adjusting the seat or anything else. Little thing, but you know what, it's such a touch that it really impressed me. Another interesting feature, and obviously on the latest facelift, is I made quite a lot of the new shape headrests on the new Clio, and I'm glad to see they've adopted them on the Duster as well. They're safe, they're more comfortable, they work nicely in my book, and also they're much thinner, which means rear seat passengers don't have as much of an obstacle to their view forward, etc. And also, in fact, while you're reverse parking or reversing, you've got less obstacle to your rear view if you're not just using the camera. So there are lots of reasons and advantages why you may want that overall. Well, I've always liked the Duster. You'll see on the channel I've tested the Duster a number of times, and that's something to keep in mind as well. As I mentioned just now, earlier on in the video, it has been updated. And they brought on a few more extra touches to justify the intense spec level, which is now the new Renault usage of specs. And they're bringing it in on various models. You have Life, you have Zen, and you have Intense. Well, on Duster, you only get Zen and Intense. So you can think about that one if you want to, and make your own decisions there. I don't think it's really important, but it does come into it. The Duster's interesting in the sense, as I've said, it has some rough edges, and it has almost utilitarian to me in its genetics and built in. And there's some things about it, whether it's on the outside, whether it's on the inside, you can see It's got that kind of rougher background, can I call it that? But I don't think that's a negative either. It says bring it on. It's nice. It's been around for a long time. Maybe it's due for more than just a facelift. But then again, I can't find anything wrong with it. So maybe Renault on a winning recipe over there. The final point, of course, I've got to tell you is the price. As we're sitting in it right now, 389,900. You can go to the Zen Automatic and save 8,000 Rand. I've mentioned the difference on features. For those extra features, that's so little, I can see the value here, and I think this is the bargain then, relatively speaking. Competitors, well, you can look at every and any crossover SUV on the market for competitors. Take me too long to tell you too many of them. Don't think that's important either. But what you've got to accept with this one is you do get a slightly bigger car than a lot of the competitors. You do get slightly more ground clearance if you do want to go off the beaten tracks, and you get that rough, tough feeling about it. You get a 3-year, 45,000 kilometer service plan thrown in as well. I've told you what I like, I've told you what I don't like. It certainly is competitive in the market segment, whether you're talking type of car, size of car, or even price. If this is what you're looking for, check this one out along with the others before you make any decisions. What is very interesting is there are very, very few diesel-powered alternatives available anymore. We all know why. But you want fuel economy, you also know that's where you can look. For Motor Matters, I'm Alan R. See you next time.